Hi YouTube. I want to talk to you about a property management company called Waterton. They have properties in Los Angeles, and I'm not sure what other states. I believe their main office is in Chicago, but I'm making this video to make as many as possible aware because I believe that if this company would do the things that they've done, and there are other companies doing the same things, and I might have been a little naive as to what a property management can and cannot do. So I rented an apartment in one of their buildings, and I had a month where I had some difficulties, and I explained that to them, and they basically evicted me, right? So here's the thing about that. I had my rent portion of the bill because here in Los Angeles, when you rent an apartment, a lot of times there are a lot of frills and thrills that comes with it. And from what I understand, if you have your rent portion, you should be able to pay that. And if they need to take you to court for all the other frills and thrills, then they can do that. So I had an issue just 1 month. All the other months, they had no issues with me at all. And I tried to do just that. I tried to pay my rent, and they kept dancing around me, asking them, can I just pay my rent portion for now and I'll just take care of the rest of it later on. They kept dancing. They did not want to give me that yes. Maybe they didn't want me to tell others that they can do that, or they didn't, they just didn't want to have others doing. I don't know what it was, but they basically denied me from doing that, which they were not supposed to do. I found out later on that they were actually supposed to take my rent portion and, if needs be, take me to court for all the other things. Anyway, they evicted me. It was an illegal eviction. I took them to court, and things were going in my favor. And again, this property management is called Waterton. Things were going in my favor, and so they tried to cut a deal with me. And one of their attorneys was asking me to agree to certain things, and of course I kept denying because they did wrong. They did me wrong, so I wasn't gonna cut any sort of deals. I wanted my record sealed as though I'd never had an eviction, and whatever they wanted to claim that I might have owed, I wanted them to clear that because what they did was wrong. And so this attorney's name is James A. Dorning. He's in Los Angeles. He's James A. Dorning. That's the attorney they hired for the eviction case. And so he basically agreed, okay, Miss Mitchell, we're going to do this. We're going to clear everything up, and it's going to show on record. Your record will be sealed, and, um, issues if you'd like to move, and, you just have to be out by this time. And I agreed. I said, yes, I'll be out by that time. From what I understand, we now have a clean slate. I owe them nothing. I'm just going to go about my business. And so we discussed that, and we had to go before the judge to, of course, let the judge know this is the decision that we came up with, right? So pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. So we go before the judge, and he tells the judge, this is what we've agreed to. And the judge says, okay, right? But what he didn't do, I noticed, didn't give the judge the paper for her to look at it, the agreement. They just agreed verbally. And so after that, in my mind, now I'm thinking that right when the judge had said, okay, that's the agreement, great, I should have signed the contract, right? So we leave the courtroom after the judge says, okay, that's a decision, great. Are you good with that, Miss Mitchell? I said, yes, I am. And from what I know, I have a clean slate and we're good. So this attorney is now running around in the courtroom. He's talking to this person, that person, running around, and I'm waiting on him to get back to me. Now, remember what I said now. I didn't sign the paperwork after the judge agreed. So he ran around, and I'm assuming that what we talked about is what the agreement is. So after he did all this running around, he comes to me and he says, I've got a case right now, and I just need you to follow me into the courtroom and just sign the first page of the agreement. Now, I'm assuming this man is being honest with me, right? We just went before a judge. I'm thinking this person, if nothing else, is going to abide by the law, right? This is an attorney. He knows the law. In my mind, that they're probably not so willing to risk, being deceitful or losing their license or whatever. So he says to me, follow me to the courtroom, and I did just that. I followed him, and I signed, because he was rushing into another case. I signed. I'm thinking I'm good. And then about a month later, the landlord sends me an email claiming that I owe all this, I owe them all this money. And I'm, of course I'm confused. I'm asking, well, what are you talking about? We cleared this up in the courthouse. I don't owe anything. I made that clear to her. And she said to me, did you not see the second page? Something on the second page. He wrote something I did not agree to on the second page, right? And now I realize no wonder he told me only, he told me just take a picture of the first page, sign it, and take a picture of it, right? So that, of course, this is the attorney that they hired. That, of course, was deceitful. So now they're claiming that I owe them all this money, even though we had a verbal agreement. We went before the court. At some point, he manipulated the paperwork. While he was running around in the courtroom, I'm assuming at some point he manipulated the paperwork, saying that I said that I would pay them, X amount of money, which I did not say. But since my signature was already there, of course, they're saying that I agreed to it. I did not agree to any such thing. I signed it, and even then, right when I signed the paperwork, of course, he had to go, down to their clerk's office and everything, and to make everything legal. He told me after I signed it, when I'm done with this case, I'll take it down to the clerk's office, and I'll get you a copy, and I'll mail you that copy. All right? And so I'm trying to say that there was so much time where I did not have access to that paperwork, and I knew he manipulated it. Okay, nonetheless, I take him to court for all of this foolishness, right? Because all that now that they're claiming that I owe, and just me just trying to find another place, to live, is just been a lot. So I took him to court for, different things. And so they now have a new attorney on this case, and his name is Trevor Wong, right? And so they want to cut a deal with me for scraps, basically, right? Not to go take them to court. They want to cut a deal with me for scrap. After all that they did, illegally evicted me, lied on me, etc. Now they want to cut a deal with me. But like I said, it is for scraps, right? And Mr. Wong, now he sends me some paperwork, and the paperwork is saying that I said things I didn't say, like right off the bat, like the first page. He's saying that, I'm saying things that I did not say. And so I'm, of course I haven't signed the paperwork, but I'm bringing this up to you guys just so that you know that, with these, if you're renting, and they're trying to evict you or whatever, be very, very careful about, these attorneys and their tactics, and, because human beings are human beings. And while we want to assume that, well, lawyers are credible, or judges are credible, or doctors are credible, or whomever, pastors are credible, we know that human beings are human beings. So be careful with these companies, because, they, are whatever tactics they have to use, they're using it. I remember even in the beginning of the eviction case, they were purposely not giving me mail that was time sensitive, mail that I had to get back to them, within a certain amount of time. And I'd get to court, and the judge would say, well, where's the paperwork? And I'd say, I did not receive it. And they'd say, well, yes, you did, because we sent it. And, it wasn't like I was signing for anything to, for them to say, well, here's their signature. They weren't doing that. They were not getting my mail, or they'll put letter in the package rooms for me. Who goes in the package room to look for a letter, right? You go in the package room to look for a package. And if you don't have a package, then you're not going to get a code to go to the package room. You have to have a package to get a code. And so they would put letters in there and said, well, they were saying that, well, we sent it, or, she has it, she's just not responding. Or what they do is they'd give it to the front office in the building, and then the front office would never get it to me. They just have it sitting at the office, or, never get it to me, but then they'd blame me in court for not getting it back to them. I remember one day I was in court, and they were saying that, they were asking me for paperwork. And again, of course, I'm saying I did not get it, right? Now, I checked my mail that morning before I went to court. There was nothing in there. When I got back, there was mail in my mailbox, and that was before the mailman got there. The mailman hadn't got there yet, so that, of course, let me know someone put mail into my mailbox. But anyway, at some point, the judge realized that I was not getting the mail because they had me sanctioned. They had the judge sanction me for not responding in a timely manner. And of course, the judge, this was a different judge. That one day, I guess that the main judge was sick, and that one judge came in, a new judge, and he was looking through, and of course, he saw that I was, because I was registering things. And so he saw that, well, wait a minute now. Yes, she's sending stuff in, and so he ended up canceling a sanction that they had sanctioned me for not responding. But I'm saying all that to say that they play games. Their goal is to win. And it's not through being brilliant or sharp or, just able to get the job done correct. It's through wrongdoing. It's through just being sneaky and purposely sabotaging to keep you from winning. Like, that's how sad this is. So if you go to court, be on your P's and Q's, just, stay sharp. Don't assume that, oh, well, the court is responsible for this end and they'll hold up this end. You have to be all over your case because, there's even a buddy system. And another attorney told me, he said, there's a buddy system between the attorneys and the judges. They'll sometimes, help them to get over on you because they're friends. So you have to really be sharp and, be on top of your game because, like I said, they're not winning fair and square. They're not winning with their brilliance or their intelligence. They are winning it through games, through, just trying to sabotage and manipulate. And you have to make sure that they don't assume they're following the law, because even though they know the law and they could lose their license, and they didn't seem to care in my situation. Seemed like they were willing to, go to jail. I mean, there was even fraud committed, by one of the attorneys. So just so you know, stay on top of your game. And again, the company is called Waterton Property Management. Waterton Property Management. So remember I said that this now attorney that they have wants to cut me a deal, but it's scraps, right? To not take him to court. And so he sends me paperwork, I think Monday evening. And by Wednesday morning, he's asking me what's the holdup in signing the paperwork and getting it back to him because, we're in a rush. Now, of course, I if I get legal paperwork, I can have an attorney look it over before I get back to him. There's this rush for me to get it back to them. That alone lets me know that they know they did wrong. The claims that I have are very legit. They know they did wrong, but they want to get over on you. They want to play games, and the whole time he's been trying to convince me to just give it up, because if you lose the case, then you're going to owe them, and as if he really cares about me, right? He's just trying to look good on paper that, whatever the lawsuit is, that he was able to bring it down to nothing. Just trying to, gain and cover himself, but pretending that he really cares about what happens with me, with, like I'm a kid or something, like I'm an idiot. I just don't know that they are working, for themselves, for their own benefits, and, definitely not for me. So again, the company's name is Waterton Property Management. They legally evicted me, and then they had a couple of very crafty attorneys that just, manipulate. They manipulate the case. They sabotage it. They hide your mail. They just play games that you would never think that an attorney, you just would never think that these people who know better, who know the law, would do these sorts of things. So, like I said, wherever you're renting from, just make sure you know what's going on. If you need to take them to court, or if they take you to court, stay on top of your game, okay? Because human beings are human beings. Human beings are sinners, no matter their title. They're sinners, all right? We know the best of men cheat on their wives, and we know pastors, have been found to rape children, and et cetera, et cetera. So just, don't be naive like I was, thinking that, well, they have to play by the rules. They should play by the rules, but they probably won't. The crafty ones won't. So look out for that. And again, just wanted to warn you.